Okay, welcome everybody. Today we're going to talk about data centricity, what it is, what it is not. A little bit about me. My name is Ruben Sardarian, and I'm the founder and CEO of a company called Infocratic. We provide end-to-end service in the data and analytics space, and we're also big fans of data centricity. So my background is that of chief data officer with a deep technical background. I've worked in software companies for about 15 years. Then I worked in a large financial firm in Canada for about 12 years, where I led data and analytics for over a decade before founding Infocratic in 2020. Let me start today's webinar with a little story. So think about a little monkey that lived in a zoo. So it was born in a zoo, and from the earliest days, it learned to drink water from a bottle that zookeepers brought. So the monkey so got used to that bottle that it would not drink from anything else. So while it was the water that the monkey needed, it couldn't see the value of the water. It only perceived the bottle as the water source. So the bottle became associated with the water. And in a similar manner, most organizations historically have grown to associate data and information with technology. They focus on the bottle, which is the technology, and often forget about the value of the water, which is information. Now, today, every business is a data business in today's digital economy. Data is our new currency. Businesses can effectively collect, analyze, and use data and exchange it. Data is also the bloodstream that carries vital information to every part of your organization. It is the DNA of the business, just as the DNA contains genetic information that determines the unique traits and characteristics of a living organism. Data contains the information that is unique to your business, that has all the unique qualities and competitive advantages of your business. It's also the conductor of your business. So in the same way that the conductor directs an orchestra, information and data is used to direct your business to achieve optimal results. You can also use data as a crystal ball. In the past, businesses relied on intuition and guesswork to predict future needs and opportunities. Right now, you can predict it with much greater accuracy. You can predict what customers will want in the future, what actions will need to be taken. And in a nutshell, data is the magic wand of your business. It can be used to transform a business by identifying new opportunities, increasing efficiency, and overall driving growth. Now, realize this, we're in the middle of the fourth industrial revolution, or a revolution called Industry 4.0. The previous three revolutions were mechanization, electrification, and digitalization, where we introduced first machinery, then electricity and electrical power-driven machines, then the digital revolution when the computers started driving businesses, and now we're in the fourth industrial revolution that is all about automating cognitive tasks and decision making. So now our competitive strength is determined by the capability to automate complex cognitive tasks and decision making, and all of these capabilities are enabled by data. Now let's quickly touch base on what is data, information, and knowledge. I like to use the following model, where data is the raw unprocessed facts. And you probably know that the word data comes from the Latin datum, which means a given. So if we look at this number or this name, it's just data, right? It's raw data. Now, when we enrich this data with context, we say that this number represents sales in the first quarter of 2023 in US dollars, or this is the name of the most profitable customer. This becomes information. And when we enrich this information with meaning, for instance, we know that getting more customers like John Smith will increase our profits. This information becomes knowledge. There's the DIKW pyramid model that's fairly well known, that outlines the relationships between data and information and knowledge. So again, data is our foundational level. It's raw, unprocessed, know-nothing facts. When we enrich them with context, it becomes information, which is much more useful. And then when we enrich information with meaning, it becomes knowledge. And when this knowledge is integrated and aligned, I guess we can call it wisdom. And our understanding increases as we go up this pyramid. And one thing to note is that computers are actually fairly confidently operating at not just information, but also knowledge realm. This is a poem by an extract from a poem by T.S. Eliot. Where is the wisdom we have lost in knowledge? Where is the knowledge we have lost in information? And I was bold enough to add this line: where is the information we have lost in data? Now, a quick disclaimer. Lots of times people use terms data and information interchangeably. Now, an important thing is to understand that, again, data is raw unprocessed facts. So all information is data, but not all data is information. For various reasons listed below, people use them interchangeably, sometimes just because data is shorter to pronounce, but understand the difference between these two terms. What's the relation of data and information to technology? What role does technology play in relation to data? We should be regarding any technology as some sort of a container that just collects, stores, and processes data. Technology can help transform data into information and knowledge, but technology can also degrade data, information, and knowledge if misaligned or misused. Like I mentioned, it's just a vehicle or a tool for data, and the actual value lies in the data, information, and knowledge that's contained in technology. Right? Technology by itself is just a container. Another metaphor can be a technology as a processing plant, so that takes data information as raw materials and produces value as output. Now, an important thing to note is that technology comes and goes while data and information stays, right? So you probably have pictures on your phone that are there there have been there like forever, or like files on your computer or in the cloud that have been there forever. Let me give you another example. This is the maple leaf rag. Not sure if you can hear the sound. This thing, it's a fairly well-known tune that was recorded in 1916. Google it. It was first released in 1916 on vinyls that were available since 1880. Then we started storing music on magnetic tapes, cassette tapes, compact discs, flash memory drives, and currently everything is in the cloud, right? So I'm pretty sure this tune, it has lived on all of this media, right? So it was different technology to store music, but technology is now completely, right now, the most used technologies to store music is cloud services, right? There are some examples of technologies, right? So all the software can be considered technology in relation to in this model that we're introducing, and most of technology that stores anything that stores data basically can be considered technology. Now, the problem with technology is that it sees the world through data models. So data model is how is the representation of the real world that technology uses in order to operate. And the problem with that is that every part of technology, every piece of software, every piece of every system, every application, it comes with its own data model. Now, let me ask you the following. What matters more, the wallet or the money inside? Imagine an absurd situation where your wallet decides how you can spend your money. It tells you what you can buy, where you can buy, how much you can spend, etc. Right? So it would be absurd, right? But that's the bitter reality for like 95% of companies today, that decide which technology to buy or to build, and then they are functioning within the constraints of that technology in order to use their data. So the use of information and data is dictated by the technology and not vice versa. Now, let me introduce you to the concept of data centricity. And for that, we need to talk about the old school application centric model versus the modern data centric approach. So data centricity essentially is focusing on data and information first rather than on technology. So it's not really a new concept. For decades, many organizations have proved that focusing on information as opposed to technology creates a competitive advantage. But right now, with proliferation of SaaS services, applications, it's really it has really turned backwards. Like an average organization has more than 1,000 applications today, around 1,100, and this is like official survey results from last year. So it's on average 11,000 data models that contain your data, that contain the information that your organization uses. Here's a way to visualize that. So in an app-centric world, you have disparate applications, disparate databases, and the problem with this is that, like I said, each of these applications comes with its own data model. And not just data models is the problem. So the cost to make sense of all that information holistically is huge. It's the cost of complexity and integration is really underappreciated. Right now, between 40 and 70% of IT budgets are typically spent on integration. So these are different data pipelines. These are things like data warehouses or lakes or data meshes. So things to integrate the data, interconnected, and make sense of it. Data-centric organizations are built around unified data models, and they focus on managing those data and information life cycles holistically. They emphasize the reuse of data by as many apps and systems as possible. So in a data-centric organization, applications become sort of experiences or processes or interfaces that are connecting to the same data model that essentially reuse the data. And why reusing data is very important, because data it's the economic property of data called non-rivalry, that essentially you can use and reuse the same data as much as possible, like without any limit at a marginal cost, right? So data centricity allows you to maximize that the use of that economic property of data. So yeah, in an app-centric world, applications dictate the worldview. Each application models the world or sees the world in its own way. Or if we use the prolific elephant metaphor, each application sees only part of the elephant, or like they have different representation of the elephant. So application-centric organizations, they are struggling to feed all of this all of this landscape of different models into a holistic model that serves their business operating model. And in an app-centric realm, answering simple questions becomes a very difficult task. So questions like, for instance, how many active, customers, leads do we have? What's the next best action? What are the most common reasons for customer churn? Which product features are driving customer satisfaction and engagement? Or like, how do we make changes in our supply chain? Companies are spending millions and millions of dollars on attempts to answer these questions in a good way, but they're still failing. So it becomes a big challenge, and this is mainly because managing the meaning of things, managing semantics across this vast landscape of different application models, it's really hard thing to do and costly. Now, in a data-centric world, you determine the worldview, right? So you develop a data model that matches the model of your organization, and it's much easier than to form a holistic view. So here's my definition for a data-centric organization. It's an org that has a single data model and an org that prioritizes managing information life cycles over managing technology life cycles and even org structure. Okay, there are several ways of doing this, and the most important aspect is people and culture. Like we're going to talk about it a little bit later in this presentation, but changing how people think and act in regards to data and information is much, much harder than coming up with technology or architectural solutions that can enable data centricity. Now, keep in mind that data centricity is really a spectrum. It's not a black and white thing. Like you're not data centric, then boom, next day you're data centric. No, you have a very app centric world where there isn't any centralization of data modeling. There isn't any centralization of the meaning of information. So you have lots of data silos, you have lots of data models, a lot of integration, and you have a very high level of complexity. And in a very data-centric world, you have no data silos. There's a single data model, only the minimum of integration required, and only the required level of complexity. So yeah, don't see data centricity as an all or nothing approach. It's really a spectrum. Now, what data centricity is not, because a lot of times when I have conversations, like at conferences or on social media, asking about, hey, like, are you a data-centric organization? They say, yeah, sure, we're a data-centric organization. And then you hear all sorts of different answers like this. Most of the time it means, yeah, we want to do more with data. Data is important for us. We recognize that our today's economic power lies in data. So we really definitely want to do more with it. That's really not data centricity. And also there's a lot of investment into what I call random acts of data. So these are separate programs like data governance, data management, doing a lot of data engineering work, investing in data warehouses, lakes, meshes, metadata management, master data management, or even migrating to more technology, modern data stacks, right? There's this cloud platform and that data pipeline tool and this streaming API. So you kind of adopt all of that, but still you don't have that single model. Moving to the cloud, sometimes people will even call that being data centric. Or you would ask an executive, are you a data centric organization? Yes, we do have a data department, right? So they hired a CDO, maybe like a bunch of data people, and that's basically their enabler for data centricity. And then those people, they pretty much go out and try to do analytics or try to make sense of this information using these old methods. Now, how are data-centric orgs different? These are your typical differences. In a data-centric org, data is a shared resource, while in app-centric world, it's typically hoarded. Technology landscape is elegant and simple in data-centric world, and in app-centric realm, technology landscape is vast and complex. Data-centric companies focus on data and information. Technology is a tool for them. And app-centric companies focus on technology and tools. Data and information is an afterthought. So as a result, little to no data silos, high levels of trust in data, high levels of data literacy, and high degree of agility and information. All of this applies to data-centric organization or orgs with like high level of degree of data centricity. And lots of data silos, basically the opposite of that: low levels of trust, low levels of data literacy, like inability to innovate, having low levels of agility. All of that applies to old school application or technology centric companies. Now I'm going to tell you a bit how to become data centric. There's like, we're not going to cover all of the different approaches, but I want to touch base on some of the most important aspects of this. So the main thing is to realize that it's not a project, really. It's a constant vector that the company takes. It's a journey, and people and work aspects are much more important than data or technology aspects on this journey. First is the mindset and the value system of people who are at the helm, decision makers, executives, your leadership, and overall how they can affect the mindset of the whole organization. So it's all about culture. It's important to pay attention to your digital leadership structure, how your digital leadership roles are distributed, and how responsibilities are distributed between them, because in most large orgs, um, digital or data, it becomes just subject for turf wars. So the more savvy digital leaders, the more savvy digitally savvy execs, they're trying to use that to their advantage to gain more power. Org structure should be aligned with your data model, and you need to have skill sets that are required for this. And strategy is also super important. Data centricity should be weaved into your overall business strategy and your data strategy. It cannot be a thing on the side. Now, when it comes to data and technology, it's important to classify data. I can talk for hours about ontologies and semantic modeling as the foundation, as the biggest enabler for data centricity. Essentially, semantics are the meaning of things, right? So an ontology is how you build the top level of those abstract models, right? So semantic models are abstract models that allow you to manage what your information means outside of these technology life cycles, right? So a very basic example, you have a system that contains information about your customers, then you decide to upgrade that system or build your own or integrate more systems, or you're going through mergers and acquisitions and you have to integrate lots of customer related systems. Now, an abstract model that defines a virtual customer as your business sees it in the most efficient way for your business, you can use that model to map the data from all of these different applications and systems to your abstract model. And you can manage that abstract model to do analytics, to do data migrations, integration, and eventually even get rid of some of this technology or most of it. And like I said, switch to thinner applications that use a single data model and that serve as interfaces or experiences on top of this data. I'm going to talk a bit about data-centric architecture. It's actually my next slide to give you a 10,000-foot view of an architecture for data-centric org. Let's do that. So it's a 4-level architecture blueprint. Let me just show the whole thing. So your first level in this architecture is your ontology. This is the top of the iceberg. This is the top of your abstract model that allows you to build efficient semantic models. So it allows you to do a very formalized, very kind of quality modeling for your abstract semantic models. And then you have the semantic model itself, which is an abstract model defining how your business works. So it describes all the different entities, all the different fields in your business. And in practice, businesses, even complex businesses, they only need like maybe a few hundred entities to operate, right? It's not like, and for even like larger companies, we build models that are like just a few dozen entities, but this model still is very, very useful because it matches what the business model is. And it's good to organize these two levels in a graph. So graph store or some kind of graph technology, just because it gives you a a very flexible way to model things, right? So graphs are essentially nodes and the relationships between them. This gives you a very flexible modeling mesh that allows you to capture pretty much any view of the world. So graphs are good for modeling the complexities of the real world and all of the different scenarios. And they're also very easily extensible, right? Compared to very rigid relational models, for instance, graphs are the best tool. Now, your next two levels are metadata and your actual application level. It's important to manage metadata separately. I mean, it doesn't have to be, you can actually store all these three levels, the ontology, semantics, and metadata, you can store it in the same graph. You can have like a knowledge graph platform, or you can build a knowledge graph yourself where you keep all of this information. But this is the physical metadata. This is how your data is described in a particular system. And then there's the data itself that's in different applications, data stores, files, databases, APIs, you name it. Okay, so this is a very generic 10,000-foot view architecture of a data-centric organization. And like the main point of this is to show you that you need to come up like one or two levels higher than your technology. You need to create these abstract models that will help you manage the meaning of things through this changing technology landscape. Now, a few here are a few patterns of what successful data-centric companies do. Typically, what you see in a data-centric org, they have formalized common language that both humans and machines speak. They have a common metadata format and centralized metadata management. This is also something that I saw many times. Everything is a data product approach. They try to minimize the amount of different data store types or database types of the same type. So they wouldn't have, let's say, 10 flavors of a relational database or four flavors of a graph database. They will try to stick to only one. They really focus on interoperability and mainly semantic interoperability. So they would engineer systems, or they would integrate system, like whatever they build. Typically they build a lot of stuff, but even if they buy things, they try to use semantic models and metadata to make them essentially speak the same language, right? So interoperability is the ability of systems to speak the same language. So they try to put a big emphasis on that. You see a lot of automation and very few manual processes. So a lot of business rules and processes are actually encoded. And they prefer to use either in-house or open source solutions. You will rarely find a really highly data-centric org that uses off-the-shelf software or off-the-shelf platforms from a commercial vendor, just because it puts them in an independent state. So data-centricity is all about enabling agility and innovation. Data-centric companies, they move much faster than their competition. So yeah, they try to not create dependencies on tech vendors where that can be circumvented. In what they build, you typically see aspects of data governance and security as part of the solution. So it's typically built in. And you can see a lot of democratized access and use of data. So it's not something like, again, it's a shared asset. It's not something that's being hoarded. Okay, with that, let me summarize a few things, and then we'll get to questions. Okay, so main takeaways, if you want to, if you want your business to be resilient, what you want to like remember from today's webinar. Be aware of the economic power of information. Adopt an information first mindset and value system as opposed to technology first. Look at technology just as a vehicle or a tool. and create culture and processes that will allow you to manage the meaning of things, manage information life cycles apart from technology life cycles. And like to close with this Buckminster Fuller quote: "You never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete." Okay, this is Buckminster Fuller. And one thing that I wanted to share with you folks is that I actually have an online course called Data-Centric Executive, where I talk in depth about data centricity. And there are some guest lectures by very reputable people in the space. So you can use this coupon to get 50% off that course, and you can also check it out, share it with your friends. It's datacentricexecutive.com. And also, please do reach out and connect with me on LinkedIn. And with that, I'll finish and I'll switch to questions. So do you want me to stop the recording? I think we can stop the recording here.